today's card I'm going to do a Father's Day card because that's coming up quite soon and I just wanted to get a bit of a head start on it. For this I'm going to use the latte stack, and this is by Die Cuts with a View. And as you can see, I have used this so much, and I just keep coming back to it because it's just brilliant. This is probably one of my all-time favourite masculine type paper stacks. Anyway, let's get to the card. First of all, I'm just using a sheet of that cardstock out of that stack, and I've created a 10 by 10 card base in the green kind of wood grain pattern card. I've also cut out some other pattern cardstocks. I have no idea what size these are, I just kind of eyeball it, so I just suggest you do the same. I've pre-cut these letters to spell out the word Dad. I did that using my craft robo, and I did these using just the normal, I think it was the Arial black font, and I just made them the correct size to fit on my card front. Okay, first things first then, to destroy these letters. This is the fun bit. These are my perfectly cut die cut letters, and I'm going to screw them all up into a big ball. Each one of them, just really press in some deep creases. I'm trying not to rip the letter, but I am definitely not treating it very gently. Once I've put some good creases in there, I'm going to take my sanding block to each letter, just unfold it a little bit, and then just lightly sand at it, just to show up some of that cardstock through the pattern paper. Just do that on each letter, and this just gives them a really weathered oldie worldy look. Next, what we need to do is adhere them down to this piece of cardstock. I'm going to do that using my Tombow glue, but I'm not putting very much on at all because I'm actually going to sew this, and I do not want this glue wrecking my sewing machine. So I'm just going to put the tiniest bit on just to hold it in place, and then the stitching will hold it the rest of the way. So I'm just going to set that aside to dry while we concentrate back on the card base, just so I know that glue is absolutely dry before I use it on my machine. So to the card front, what I want to do with this is create a scallop border using the die-namics border die, which is this one, and then to have this bit of pattern cardstock peeking out at the bottom. I'm going to set my Cuttlebug up. First of all, you're going to need your A plate, then your C plate. Then what I do is just using a bit of removable adhesive, just run some on my C plate and then hold this die in place. Then you need to get your card front. And in fact, I'm going to put a bit more repositionable adhesive there. Once you've got that lined up where you want, you need your final B plate, and this is your cutting plate, and that's just to go over top the whole lot. And then just really holding this sandwich together until the rollers get it. You need to just push that through your Cuttlebug. Okay, and there's your perfectly die cut front of the card. How cool is that? And you can just remove this repositional adhesive by just rubbing it off your Cuttlebug plates. Okay, next what we need to do is adhere this one down. For that, again, I'm going to use my Tombow glue, and I'm just going to run a really thin line of glue along the top of this piece of pattern paper, and then also all over these scallops. Then I know it's going to stick together really well. So I'm just lining this one up at the bottom of the card, and then just sticking this front down over the pattern paper, which gives your whole of your front of the card back again. And I'm just going to trim these excess edges off. Okay, so next we can go back to this. It should be dry. Yep, looks it. What I'm going to do is literally just sew using some white thread, some higgledy-piggledy lines just across from one side to the other until all the letters are adhered down properly with some sewing. So I can't really show you that with the camera setup that I have, but I promise you it's really, really easy. So I'll be right back with that. Okay, so there you can see I've sewed across it lots and lots and lots of times. Yeah, the back's a complete mess, but I don't really care. It looks fine on the front. But all we need to do now is just to get rid of these straggly ends. And literally all I'm going to do is just chop them off. I'm not going to worry about making sure they don't pull out because this is going to be glued on the back, so it should hold everything together. Okay, next up what we want to do is just to distress the edges of this purple cardstock. And I'm just using this, I think it's just called an edge scraper by Making Memories. Tim Holt also sells one, but I just find this one a little bit easier to use myself, but it's just personal preference. They both do exactly the same job. Okay, once you're happy with that effect, we can glue this straight down to the front of the card. And to do that, I'm just going to use some snail adhesive. And I wouldn't normally use this much, but I'm actually going to glue the entire back side of this, just so all of these stitches will hold in place properly. And then just stick that into the middle of the card. Once it's stuck down, I'm just going to ruffle those edges up again. And also go around and do the same around the edges of the letters that are showing through between all the stitching lines. I'm just using my fingernail for this. It just gives that extra little bit of dimension. Last but not least, we just need to stamp Happy Father's Day. And I'm just using a stamp that I created myself using the Image Pack stamp system. And then I could get it to exactly the right sort of font size for the card that I wanted. And indeed, whatever font I chose to use. I really like making my own stamps, it's good. So I'm inking that up really, really well with the Colourbox chalk ink, and that's in the charcoal colour. And then I'm just going to stamp that at the top of the card. So next I'm just going to corner around these corners using my We Are Memory Keepers corner chomper. I'm going to do all four and I'm going to use the 1/2 inch setting. And last but not least, I'm just going to add 2 lines of faux stitching above and below the dad sentiment. And actually one more thing, I'm just going to use a bit of vintage photo distress ink, a very, very little bit of it, and just to gently rub over that dad sentiment. And then that's the card finished. So I hope you enjoyed it. Something a little bit different for me. I don't often use sewing in my cards, but I really quite like the effect, so I think I'll be using it a little bit more often in the future. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the card and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.